This week, I'm getting drunk. Yeah, that's right. I drank a lot of alcohol this week. Different amounts, different times of the week. One time drinking 2 beers, one time drinking 5 beers, and everything in between. And it was a lot of fun. Luckily, my wife was very patient with me in my weird experiments. I'm not a belligerent drunk. I'm just a more talkative, happy version of myself. And it was a lot of fun to try out. But what does any of this have to do with sleep? Well, actually quite a lot. Check out this view. It's pretty stellar. Tallest building in Saigon right there. Yeah, so research has shown that over 20% of Americans are using alcohol as a sleep aid every single night. That's pretty astounding. The effects of this are not good. It doesn't seem that drinking alcohol to go to sleep is actually not helping the more and more that I look into it. But let's talk about that. Likely if you drink, you've experienced the drowsy effects of alcohol. And there's a reason for that. It works. It makes you sleepy. And that's why a lot of people are using it as a sleep aid, especially if you have trouble getting to sleep at night. But there's been a lot of research done on alcohol as a sleep aid, and the results are not looking good. And why is that? Well, maybe you've remember we talked about in a previous video about REM sleep and non-REM sleep, or REM and NREM. And the reason why alcohol as a sleep aid works to begin with is that it puts you to sleep at the beginning of the night. It encourages that non-REM deep sleep, as it's called. And then towards the end of the night, or towards the middle and end of the night, it actually wakes us back up and makes us feel more awake, and then prevents that REM sleep or dream sleep from happening. And the effects of this are not looking good, actually. And I want to get into that, but first, let's talk about what my experience was like getting drunk and drinking a bunch of alcohol to test the effects of alcohol on my sleep throughout this week here. So this week I tried drinking a couple different amounts of beer at different times. So at first I started by drinking like 1 beer, maybe 4 hours before bedtime. And then I tried 2 beers about the same time before. And when I say before bedtime, I mean the last drink ended at 4 hours before my when I went to sleep, got in bed, tried to go to sleep. And that was interesting because it didn't really have much effect on my sleeping ability. And the reason for that is based on something that I learned called BAC, or BAC, blood alcohol content, as it stands for. And what this means is that based on my drinking habits, my weight, my height, my gender, and my typical level of activity, the amount of alcohol in my blood for a specific length of time, based on how much I drank, it tells you how long it stays in your system. And so there's some BAC calculators online, so you can see, and a lot of times on college campuses in the US, what they'll do is provide students with an app or something like that, or a website where they can go and calculate their BAC, so they know after a party, I shouldn't drive, because if I do get caught, I'll be well above the level and then go to jail, or the most important, I'm a danger to other people on the road. But the BAC can also be used to tell you, how much alcohol you have in your blood and whether or not it's going to affect my sleep. And so those first couple nights, I was trying too little alcohol too long before bed, and so the alcohol was completely out of my blood system by the time that I actually went to bed. So then I upped the ante a little bit, started drinking more and closer to my bedtime. And so I would do 4 beers about 2 hours before I went to bed. And the interesting thing here is that based on that information, it should take about 4 hours and 24 minutes for me to be at 0% blood alcohol content. And I tried to go to bed after 2 hours, so that meant that I still had 2 hours and 24 minutes to go before I was at 0%. But this is where it gets interesting. Because of that, I had 2 hours where I where since I had drank last, and because of that, I was actually past the drowsy phase or the drowsy effects of alcohol, and now what the alcohol was doing was suppressing the production of melatonin, which is a chemical indicator in the brain that says, hey, it's time to go to bed. And so the time that I actually wanted to go to bed the most, the alcohol was having the opposite effect on my system, kind of telling me, you know what, it's not time for bed yet. And that prevented me from going to bed for quite a long time. And what it actually did was it actually triggered some thoughts in my brain. And I got stuck in the endless wheel of going through thoughts. And that's, I think, one of the most negative effects that I found with drinking alcohol too close to bedtime is maybe not necessarily that the alcohol itself is preventing me from sleep, but it's keeping me up long enough for my brain to do the rest of the work, which is typically my problem because I have no shortage of thoughts. So that was kind of my experience as I observed it with different amounts of alcohol and different times before bed. Now I think what I'd like to do is look at the numbers, see what happened in the sleep journal and how it actually affected my sleep as I reported it by the numbers. So let's get into that. Got the Saigon River here. Nice park. I'm definitely gonna get sunburned making this video. So thumbs up for the sacrifices that I make to bring you these videos. All right, so by the numbers, as I reported in the sleep journal, my sleep quality on average was 2.71 the previous 7 days, and it is 2.71 again this week. And I attribute that to the fact that most nights I was 0% back by the time I went to bed, 0% blood alcohol content. So I think that's why there wasn't much change there. My average feeling during the day was 2.43 the week before, 2.57 this week, an increase there. And again, I think this is because the 0% back level. Previously, I wasn't really trying to monitor my alcohol intake because I knew that I was going to get to this eventually for these videos and for my experiments. And so I actually wanted to just kind of freely drink. You know, who doesn't want to freely drink? But yeah, that's what I was trying to do kind of on purpose. And so I think now that I'm actually tracking how much I'm drinking and being careful about, where my back level is at, I think that explains why, I felt better when I wake up, because I'm getting more of that REM sleep during the night, getting more of complete sleep cycle, not getting interrupted by that alcohol. My feeling during the day went from 3.14 to 3.43, and honestly, this is no surprise after the last two. The thing I found most interesting, though, is dreams. Now, I had very little dreams before I started kind of influencing my alcohol intake. Before I was drinking about, or not drinking, I was having dreams about 0.29 times per night. And now, after this week of being careful about where my back level was at, I was at 0.43 dreams per night, which is, it's not like I'm dreaming every night, but for me, someone who has historically not ever had many dreams at all, that's a pretty big deal. I like having dreams, they're pretty nice, and I want more of them, so I'm happy about these results. And I think the reason is because in my research, I learned that alcohol reduces REM sleep. It actually suppresses REM sleep. And REM sleep is the dream sleep. That's the restorative part that's helping solidify memories, actually. And that's what dreams do. They help to bring memories into the long-term storage system of the brain. And I think that's pretty awesome, which means I should probably be getting more dreams as I improve my sleep. And so I'm very satisfied with the results there. And if you're wondering at all, like, how am I tracking and monitoring these things, I did a video on how I'm journaling my sleep, and basically every morning I wake up and record on a scale of 1 to 5 how my sleep quality was, how my feeling when I woke up was, how my feeling during the day was. And I record that on the sleep journal and then make an average of that. And so I would challenge you to go check that out and watch that video, and I'll link it in the description or put it on the screen somewhere here. So what's the consensus here? Well, I think it's pretty clear. You know, alcohol is not just this grand conspiracy of a terrible thing for sleep. It can be fine to enjoy and to have fun with, but I think it goes back to that principle that your parents told you, and I think there was some commercials about drink responsibly. You always see these on billboards, right? And if you drink responsibly, then you shouldn't have any problems with sleep after alcohol. Anybody that's using alcohol as a sleep aid is significantly impacting their sleep cycle. And every time you use it to go to sleep, it's throwing off the circadian rhythm. And in order to get back to normal, healthy sleep, I'd have to reset my circadian rhythm every time because it's not giving me enough of that healthy REM cycle sleep. And so the consensus for me is just stop drinking alcohol too close to bedtime. How close? Well, that depends on back. And so, you know, I think that back calculator is gonna, for someone that enjoys drinking like me, you know, I like a good bourbon. Every once in a while I'll drink a craft beer. I don't like the type of mass-produced beer, but you know, I enjoy wine. I enjoy drinking alcohol, so I don't want to stop that, but I do want to do it responsibly so I can get that healthy sleep I need, so I can feel better in the day, get more done. And so I'm going to pay attention to back. And if you're interested in a back calculator to see, you know, what your back levels are, and you can make smart decisions about how much you're drinking and when you're drinking it, then I will leave a link in the description to a back calculator that I used on this experiment. Well, just went inside because it was freaking hot out there. But I know for me, I'm going to give this a Sleep Shifu's thumbs up and actually try and implement keeping my back level at 0% by the time I get to bed. So that means about 2 hours before bed at the least I should be stopping drinking. So if you are really serious about getting better about your sleep, then you're going to want to watch the next video. It's a good one and it's going to be really insightful. So subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when it comes out. All right, sleep well, my friends.